Hello and welcome. Today you're going to learn how to make the Hoya bikini shorts. I love these shorts, well, these bikini shorts, because they're high-waisted and high-cut, so they really do give beautiful long lines to your legs and also emphasize how cute your butt is. It's got ruching detailing in the bum, so it's like a scrunch butt, I guess. So let's get started. So the supplies you'll be needing for the Hoya high cut shorts is main and lining fabric 1/4 meter and with a two-way stretch, 15mm fold over elastic, 6mm woven elastic, pins, cutting tools, Hoya pattern, sewing machine and cotton. Yay! Okay, so grab your supplies and let's get started on cutting out the pattern, which is the most important part. Okay, so you'll print out your pattern. You'll get 3 sheets with this pattern plus the sizing sheet as well. So with this pattern here, there's 3 sheets that you just need to cut out. But first of all, we need to cut a very straight line across one sheet. So I usually choose that sheet to be the middle sheet that is going to join on to the first sheet. So just cutting out a line so that you're not cutting out the actual pattern, but just a long pattern to the very end. And you can see where everything matches up with the lines and the dots. And then on the second sheet, you'll cut another straight line to join on to the last sheet. This is really important to not cut the pattern, but just cut kind of like a millimeter or two before the pattern. There you go. Perfect. Okay, all you need to do now is just place some tape down on where you've cut, just so that it secures it into place. So I like to put one tape down, and maybe that tape comes down onto your table, and that will just hold that in place. There you go, just lining everything up. So all the dots match up, all the lines, whoops, everything matches up. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, a little bit of care, but once you get there, you're ready for the next part. And just grabbing your second piece of tape, placing that down on the cutout line, and everything is lined up and ready to go. So just gently lifting that up, folding the tape over the piece of paper. And there you are, there's your pattern. I love creating these patterns. I create them on Adobe Illustrator, and it's probably one of my most favorite parts with design. So now you're going to take your scissors and get ready to cut the pattern out. But before you do, you just want to take a note of your size. So on the there's a 4th piece of paper that comes with this pattern, and you'll be able to measure yourself and find out what size you are. This is Australian sizing. And today I'm going to cut out a size 10, which is size small. And then just start cutting. Perfect, yay. All done. Okay, so now that you've got your pattern all cut out, let's just take a look at some of the most important features on this pattern. So first of all, you'll notice down through the side of the pattern, let me turn around and show you. It says here that it's important, does not include a seam allowance, and to place on the fold when you're cutting out. So this is the Hoya high cut one of the main, cut one of the lining, cut on fold, and this is also the back. And with this one is the front, With this pattern you don't need a seam allowance, it's already built in. So I can show you in another video how to put seam allowance on there. Okay, so just cut out your fabric. I like to pin my fabric down, or the pattern down onto the fabric with crystals. I always say it brings good juju to wearing them. And then when you've got everything lined up on the fold, just cut your pattern out. And so just cut out the front and the back. And so I've done the main fabric. Beautiful. I love this design, and also this fabric. I'll put a note down below where you can get this fabric from. It's a beautiful sporting fabric, but can be used as swimwear as well as pole wear, is what I mainly wear it for anyway. So placing the right sides together, we're going to pin the crutch seam. So right sides together and popping a few pins in there to get ready to sew them together. Yay! Alright, so just sew here. 1/4 of an inch seam allowance is here. And there we go, all done. So if you don't have a serger, you can just do a zigzag stitch and then finish off with a straight stitch like I've shown you here. You can see from the two different tails here that one is an overlocker and one is a straight stitch. And then I'm just going to gently trim those off just to clean off the work. And the other side. And that is all done. Yes, so neat. I love that. Great. All lined up. You can already see how good it's going to look. So now all we have to do now is just cut the lining. I wish I could cut this fast, but I do appreciate a good rotary cutter. I probably have to update my blades, but they still cut really well. Okay, so now that you've got your lining fabric, you want to make sure that the right side of that fabric is facing up, because now we're going to get ready to put the elastic in for the ruching or the scrunch butt detail, which I think just looks so beautiful. You might need a ruler for this, depending if you know how to work without doing a straight line, but just for information purposes, I've just lined everything up in the middle. I'm going to get a ruler, and I've also got some chalk here that I'm putting a line down. If it was different color fabric, you'd be able to see the line, but I'm pretty good these days with creating a line without the chalk. You might need it just to help you along the way, and then eventually you'll become a whiz at it. So now that I know where my straight line is, I just grab my 6mm elastic and I'm going to put it behind the main lining. So this is a woven 6mm elastic. I love this one because it has a good return and it's nice and firm. So I'm just going to slide that behind and line that up with that line. Perfect. Yes. Just for showing you this, I'm just going to leave a little tail. I wouldn't normally leave a tail, but I'm just showing you this just so that you can see where the elastic is going from start to finish. And then I will place a pin in on either side. This will just keep it secure. I'm not pinning through the elastic, it's through the material, behind the elastic, and then through the material again. And I'll do it again, coming all the way up. So I'll just repeat that again. I don't put the pin through the elastic. The pin goes through the material, around the elastic, and then through the material again. And I would do that possibly every 1.5 to 2 inches down the elastic, and that just keeps it in place and it's not going to fall or go all clumsy on you, because sometimes it does have a mind of its own if it's not pinned into place. And just going behind the elastic. And we're going to do that again, probably one more. This might take you a few goes, but it's worth it because once it's finished as a scrunch detail, it looks amazing. So I'm just cutting a little bit of that tail off, and here. So we've put the elastic behind the right side of the fabric of the lining. So what you're looking at now is the right side. And then we get the front part, and we place the right sides together. I might just move this pin just a little bit back, maybe 1.5 inches. And then we're going to line up the crutch seam here. And we're just going to pin the crutches together. So both right sides are together of the lining, and you'll grab your pins and find a good spot to pin on either side of the elastic. This lining, this material is a little bit lighter, almost like see-through compared to the other material. So it is a little bit more flimsy to work with, but I always like to put lining in because, well, you know, we sweat when we pole dance and it's nice to have lining in there. I think it's just nicer. Okay, so here we're going to sew on either end. So from here to here and there, and then we're going to leave this middle piece unsewn. So don't sew over the elastic. And this is what I mean by that. So I've sewn on either end, and I've left the middle free. So that we've got a hole here. Okay. Okay, so now we have got this all sorted. So this is the lining, and we're going to place right sides together and pin the seams on the side. I think it's really important to make sure that your seams are nicely pinned because it sets you up for really neat work to follow. So making sure that the seams are nice and even, the ends match up nice and neatly, and pin them into place. And I've allowed for 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on these shorts. And just making sure that everything is nice and neat and the edges match up beautifully. Because if they don't match up beautifully, it just means that you might be mismatching your size, and every millimeter counts. There we go. We're going to do the same for the main fabric now. So the main fabric, we're going to place the right sides together, just folding it on top of itself. And we're going to do the same that we did on the lining. We're just placing the right sides together and we're pinning the edge seam. Let's pop maybe 2 or 3 pins into place. Make sure that the sides are all matched up with each other. Perfect. Amazing. So once you've got all the sides all pinned together nicely, you're going to take them over to your sewing machine or your serger, and you're going to sew your either zigzag stitch or a straight stitch or both 1/4 of inch along through each of these side seams. That's the second one, and the third, and the fourth. Done. So all side seams are done. Just make sure that you trim off any excess cotton. So trim the tails, make sure it's nice and neat. There we go. So that's, I've just used my serger and a straight stitch. I just find that it's a little bit more secure sometimes when you do serger and a straight stitch, or zigzag and a straight stitch. It just means that you won't encounter anything falling apart. So now we're going to pop the lining inside of the main fabric with the wrong sides together. So wrong sides are together so that the right sides is what faces on the inside and on the outside. So it's pretty much how it would look before it's finished. So you can see that this is the right side of the lining that I'm touching, and this is the right side of the main fabric that you can see. We're going to start pinning the top of the waist together, and I like to fold the seam allowances away from each other. So usually the front is facing the back and the back is facing the front, and gently pin into place. And that is a really good indication for lining everything up. Yay, and then do the rest. Pin away. And the whole waistline should be pinned now, and you're ready to sew either a zigzag. I'm going to do a zigzag stitch here, just my preference. You can do a serger if you like, but for me I'm going to do a zigzag, and all done. So the zigzag stitch done, nice and neat, and it's starting to look really good. I'm really happy with that. And so what we're going to do now is do the pinning of the legs here, so front and back. And again, I like to line things up here with the crutch. So the crutch seams, I turn the front to the back and the back to the front, and I line up the crutch seam like this. and pin into place. I always start with the seams because it just makes everything line up beautifully, and then you come to this seam and it's perfect. Yes. And again, just fold the seams away from each other, pin into place. You're going to do that on both sides, so pin both legs. And here I am just speeding away with my pinning. I'm pinning both legs into place. And done. So now all we need to do now is just do our zigzag stitch again and zigzag that into place as close to the edge as possible. And there it is, all done. So that is all done with the zigzag stitch, all into place. Oh my goodness, we're up to my favorite part now. Actually, I have lots of favorite parts, but I love getting the fold over elastic on. I've got this beautiful 15mm fold over elastic, shiny side on one side, and it's dull and soft on the other side. We're going to, this is the fold over elastic, so it's going to encase the actual material. So in a sense, this is your hem. And so placing the fold over elastic the wrong side towards the right side of the lining, and as you sew your zigzag stitch, you're going to pull the fold over elastic to create like a bunching effect. So you want the right side of the fabric facing up. And that's what it looks like once you've sewn it on. So as you can see, the fold over elastic is behind. This is how I finish off the tail, a little bit longer on one end, and I just fold it over, and so it's kind of got a little bit of a loop on it. And you're going to sew that into place so it doesn't move. And then you'll start folding it over when you do go to sew it, and you'll use a zigzag stitch to keep it all down and close to the edge as possible, as to the edge of the fold over elastic that meets the main fabric. So there you go, I've sewn it and it's already in place. And then I'm going to do the fold over elastic, so folding that over, and I'll put my zigzag stitch on that and come back around and fold that over with the zigzag stitch. I'm going to cut this little corner out here because it just takes a little bit of the bulk out from the fold over elastic, so when it folds over it's nice and neat and really plush, beautiful. Alright, and so we're ready to start sewing that zigzag stitch over, and it's done. And it looks so clean. Love, love, love. There we go. So it's nice and neat, folded over. And the shiny fold over elastic is on the outside where it's really pretty with that detail. And we're going to do the same now on both of those legs, and I'll see you when you've done that. Ha! Magic! Yay! Oh goodness, we're up to the ruching part. So pay close attention. First of all, look at the legs. They've got really nice stretch in them. Not too tight though. I don't like it when it's too tight, but firm. We just want it firm. There we go. And so just turn this inside out. So you've got your lining looking up at you. You're going to pull the tail out of the crutch hole just a little bit. keeping the pins still in place. There we go. And pulling that through. So when you place this underneath your sewing machine, you're going to have it on a zigzag stitch, and you're going to, as you sew, you're going to be pulling the elastic as you sew. So pulling the elastic quite firmly, but not too firm. Every elastic is different, and you'll get this beautiful bunching effect while you sew over the elastic. So you do yours and I'll do mine, and we'll meet back here. And it's all done. So you can see the zigzag. I used the white on this side just so you can see the zigzag stitch in there. You can go smaller. I had this on a 3 length and 3 width. I would normally do 2 length and 2 width, but just for the video purpose I just did 3 for you to see. Okay, there's trimming off that tail so it hangs off by about 1/2 inch. Tucking that into the front and just lining up your crutch seam and then pinning just an inch worth of the middle fabric where that hole was. So you don't need to pin the whole lot. And we're going to sew between the 2 pins very close to the seam. And there you have it. So that's what it looks like with the straight stitch on the outside and the inside. Yay! And you're finished! Yay! So excited. I can't wait to see your creations of what color combinations you make. So satisfying, these shorts, and they're very, very flattering with that high cut, high waist design. As you can see on my mannequin, it looks gorgeous. So you can go to the website indiajean.com to download this pattern. India Jean Designs is Instagram, and if you do make this, please hashtag India Jean Patterns so I can find you and have a look at your amazing work. Until then, happy sewing, and I will hope to see your work soon. Thank you so much for watching.